All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to take a concept that most of us in the tech world think we know backwards and forwards, user-centered design. But we're going to look at it through a completely new lens, one that's absolutely essential for the age of AI we're all living in.
So let's just start with this pretty provocative idea. Because let's face it, this feeling is definitely out there. You know, when AI can personalize literally everything and big data can predict our every move, the old school way of designing for messy, unpredictable humans, it can feel kind of slow, a little inefficient, maybe even naive. Algorithms just feel faster, metrics feel safer.
But what if that feeling is totally based on a misunderstanding? What if the problem isn't user-centered design at all, but the way we've been doing it? For years, we've basically been treating it like a checklist, a box to tick. And in the process, we've kind of stripped away all of its real power. And this brings us to the first huge idea here. We have to stop thinking of user-centered design as just another method in the toolkit and start seeing it for what it really is, a philosophy.
Think about it. A method, that's like a recipe. It's a set of steps you follow, a box you check off. But an attitude, a philosophy, that's the reference point for every single decision you make. It's not just a phase in a project, it's the mindset that guides the entire thing, from the very first sketch to the final launch. And that, right there, is the fundamental shift we need to make.
So, to really get our heads around this shift, we've first got to clear away some of the clutter, these common myths that have totally diluted what UCD is supposed to be about. First up, the classic myth that being user-centered just means building whatever users ask for. But come on, that's not design. That's just being a delivery service. Real design exists because people often can't tell you what they truly need. Our job is to interpret, not just transcribe. Blindly following requests isn't just bad design, it's avoiding responsibility. And this leads right into the second myth. We often think, hey, if we just do enough research, enough interviews, enough surveys, the result will magically be user-centered. But research isn't a magic answer machine. It's a tool. It gives you evidence, sure, but that evidence has to be interpreted. Without that crucial step of human judgment, research just becomes a shield to hide behind, not a compass to guide you forward.
And this third myth, this one might be the most damaging of all. The idea that UCD is just the UX team's problem. This turns it into this siloed task, a checkbox someone else has to handle. But real user-centered design isn't a department, it's a culture. It has to be the reference point for engineers, for product managers, for marketers, for absolutely everyone whose decisions end up affecting the user.
So, with those myths out of the way, let's get back to basics. What did user-centered design actually mean in the first place, before it all got so complicated? Well, it's actually remarkably simple. The official ISO standard, the actual source of this whole idea, it doesn't mention happiness or delight or any of that. It's way more grounded. It just says we have to explicitly consider the user's context, their limitations, and their goals. That's it. It's about designing for the reality of the person on the other side of the screen. In this quote, this really captures the powerful soul of that principle. When a user makes a mistake, our first thought shouldn't be, wow, the user is confused. It has to be, the system is confusing. The responsibility is on us to fix the system, not to blame the person using it. And let me tell you, that is a profound shift in perspective.
Okay, so if that's the core idea, why on earth does it matter more, not less in the age of AI? Let's connect these dots.
Here's the critical thing you have to understand about AI. It doesn't understand users. It optimizes for patterns. It sees more clicks, longer usage time, higher conversion rates, and it thinks, great, this is working. But an algorithm has no idea if a user is clicking around because they're engaged and happy or because they're frustrated, confused, and desperately trying to find an answer. And that is the gap. AI is by its very nature structurally blind to the human stuff that matters most. Confusion, anxiety, the feeling of learning something for the first time, or the weight of moral responsibility when you're making a huge decision. An AI sees the behavior, but it can't see the why behind it. So, this right here, this is the new job description. In an era dominated by these massive, complex algorithms, our role is to be the human counterbalance. It's our job to put our thumb on the scale for the human context that algorithms are completely incapable of seeing. So how do we do that? It sounds big, right? But it doesn't have to be some massive, complicated process. It can start by just asking the right questions, the kinds of questions that can completely change the direction of a meeting. Let's start with this one. Is the user calmly browsing on a Sunday afternoon, or are they anxiously trying to check in for a flight while literally running through an airport?
Are they an expert who knows all the shortcuts, or are they a total beginner just trying to figure things out? You just can't separate the design from the user's state of mind.
This one is all about remembering what it feels like to be new. Do they understand the jargon we're using? Do they have any idea how this system is supposed to work? Making things understandable is our responsibility, not theirs. We're the ones who have to bridge that knowledge gap.
Okay, now this next one. This is where we get into real-world consequences, into ethics. If a user makes a mistake, clicks the wrong button, is it an easy fix, or does it have catastrophic consequences? Good UX doesn't just prevent errors, it makes errors survivable. It doesn't unfairly dump all the responsibility onto the user.
And this one probes that very fine line between being helpful and being controlling. How many clicks does it take to cancel that subscription? Can you actually turn off the notifications? Can you escape the recommendation engine? Because, convenience without choice isn't really convenience at all. It's getting dangerously close to control.
This last question really raises the stakes. Is our design making the user smarter, more capable, more confident, or is it just making them more dependent on our product to do the thinking for them? The ultimate goal of great user-centered design isn't loyalty that comes from dependency, it's about empowering user autonomy. Which brings us to the single most important takeaway. If you remember one thing from all of this, please make it this. User-centered design is not about pleasing users. It is about recognizing the immense power we have as creators and taking responsibility for the decisions we make on behalf of the people who use our stuff.
And I just want to leave you with this final powerful question to take with you. Think about the products and apps you use every single day. If their design patterns are repeated over and over and over again, what kind of person do they encourage you to become? More patient or more impulsive? More connected or more isolated? More autonomous or more dependent? That right there, that's the real measure of our work.